Esmeralda and Michael, question for you guys. If you could change anything about modern dating, what would it be? Let's start with you, Mike.
Um, I think first of all, I mean, if let's be honest, I'd probably change all of it because
All
it's
of
just
it.
there's a lot. But I think one of the things that should like be talked about more or like discussed is like dating in adolescence. Like, the belief that, when you're dating as a child, like it's normal, it's okay. And to me, that just kind of it just kind of seems weird. Like, most of what we know and like what has been observed is that a lot of people start dating when they're 12 and 13 years old,
Hmm.
and you're a kid. And to me, it's just kind of like, well, what's the point of it? I mean, yeah, you like someone, when you're a kid, but like outside of that, I mean, what else are you gonna like do, right? And I feel like, when you're a kid, that should be, the time to develop your character, learn about life and things like that. But now, if you're putting relationships into the mix, you're trying to like speed up that maturation process. And so now you have a lot of kids that are sexualizing themselves and, trying to look like adults. I mean, there's these like pageants that they have for like little girls. They're like
Mm.
7, 8 years old and they're dressed all up in like two pieces and stuff. Just weird stuff. But I think like changing that or like maybe trying to talk about that and maybe move away from that where where it's more accepted when you get to a certain age, like how they used to do it. Like I think when you were like if you lived in like Sparta like 2,000 years ago, you weren't really allowed to get married until you were like 30 years old. Not saying to go to that extreme, but the thing was like you're a man now, you've served your country,
Hmm.
you're mature enough to, have a family to marry.
Doc,
But
Yeah.
that was only men. Women married.
married a
They
lot
didn't have a
younger.
choice. So
I know, well,
they were
there was
little
still
girls
like
marrying
there was
old
still
ass
well,
dudes.
I don't think they were dating 12 and 13-year olds though. That's what I'm saying.
Probably
Like
dating like a
kids.
15-year-old.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doc, what's one
Yeah.
thing you would change about modern dating?
I would think I would change the like unsaid rules of like you can't show somebody you like them too soon, or you have to wait 3 hours to text them back, or that type of stuff. Like I think it's just a waste of time and it just drives you crazy and ups the anxiety.
That's good. I think in a similar vein, one thing I would change about modern dating is being upfront with your intentions. That can alleviate a lot of ills and a lot of misunderstandings. Where if you know you're going to go into something for, let's say, just the fun of it, say that.
Yeah.
If you know that, this person coming to talk to you or, who's approaching you or who's pursuing you, and that's not interesting to you, don't let them keep going down the same road to their demise. That seems dumb to me. And also that's why I feel we get to spaces of situationships where the fact that that's an entire word is really sad to me, where we shouldn't be having relationships where it's like just where we're in what do you call it, uncharted waters, and then we're just staying there until one of us makes a move or until somebody decides to define the relationship.
Yeah.
I feel like this a result of cowardice, both on the part of man and the woman, for not wanting to clearly state their intentions, because clearly stating your intentions is being vulnerable, and most people aren't ready for that vulnerability.
Or, I mean, you could also say some people don't even know what they want. So it's like, if you tell them, state your intentions, it's like, I don't even know what I want. So,
Which is even
like,
worse.
they go down to those basal animal instincts
Instincts.
of, company and all that stuff. So that's what they seek. And it's situationship. We make fun of it because it's the bad words. Thank you, Jada. But like it's so much more. Like my friend the other day was telling me about all these different subgroups of like different relationship statuses, and I'm like, what? Like I don't
Give
even
us some examples.
I don't even remember the names, but she was like telling me it's just, to me it's disgusting.
Wow,
But yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, it just leads to a lot of just pain and, just a lot of heartache, because
yeah,
you're making, like, you're tying yourself to someone, but you're kind of not. And so there's just a lot of uncertainty and you're just not sure. And
Yeah.
people always end up hurt. They always do.
someone does.
Someone does.
Hey guys, welcome back. How are we?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Doing good.
Yeah, how's your week been so far?
Pretty chill. I'm getting ready for my workshop on Saturday, so just tying loose ends.
It's true.
Workshop Saturday.
Yeah, remember? That's the reason I gotta come back.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so it's pretty big.
I'm also getting ready for my workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the record, we were invited to give an hour. What do you call it?
Breakout session.
We were invited to give a breakout session about the podcast and what we were doing, and that's this weekend coming up.
And I
I'm
was
pretty
supposed to
excited
help
about
you,
it.
but I
You bailed.
didn't bail. I thought it was last weekend.
I know, but then I was like, "Hey, can you help me come up with the outline?"
Oh, I totally forgot.
And then she just did not.
I totally forgot.
Can you believe that, Mike?
That was my bad.
I had to do it by myself.
I'm human. Go figure.
Go figure. So I'm pretty
bad.
excited about that. That's happening this weekend. The three of us are going to be there for an 8 to 10 minute presentation in front of everyone. There's supposed to be over 300 attendees, so that's pretty nice.
And I guarantee we're the only ones bringing a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, it's so much work that
I know.
if somebody did have like a podcast like this, it would
That'd be cool.
take so much
I mean,
work.
you could
Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be really
that would
cool.
be cool.
Like, hey, let's you talk about us.
That's
Let's
true.
give you a little spot.
Yeah.
Today I want to have a conversation on casual dating and casual dating in an Adventist context and what the role of dating is in Christian relationships. Now, I think this is super important that we have this conversation because the concept of dating itself, I feel, is largely undefined, or we have an understanding of it, but we don't really quite get we don't specify it enough to where it actually means something that people can, put their finger on it and say, okay, this is something I'm pursuing, or this is something I would take, being a part of, or whatever it is. And the fact that the world has a current monopoly on dating and what dating means is something that we need to already start counteracting, because we're not starting from zero. You know what I'm saying? We're starting from behind with a worldly perspective on what dating means. So with that said, I feel like taking time to discuss casual dating as a concept is, I think, super important to make sure that we don't fall into the same traps that the world has set for themselves.
That being said, I mean, I don't think there's such thing as casual dating. Should there be in like
I
the
think there
Adventist
is.
church? But like, should
that's a
there
good
be?
question, yeah.
Because like the concept of dating in and of itself, it's not in the Bible, is it?
No, I was thinking about that because I've mentioned that before. But when you look at Bible times, so much different. Like
That's
everybody,
true.
You pretty much stayed with your family. Your parents were expected to, when you were ready or when you wanted to marry, or when they thought you were ready to marry, they would go get you a spouse, right? And then you stayed with your family, you grew with the family, you expanded the herd, had kids. That was pretty much it. But now, obviously, it's not like that. People travel, they leave the home, they don't see their parents for years. People are more busy or working. So like, the Bible is a good book because, it's not just adapted to one time frame of like
That's
human
true.
history. It's adapted for every time, like every history. And so, while dating is not really in the Bible, I think there are biblical guidelines for dating. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. So like you can use the Bible to address how we should go about dating. And so I think when I was thinking about dating, is it biblical or not? I started to kind of change that perception. Like, okay, I don't want to say it's like wrong to date, but you can use the Bible to guide how you date.
Yeah, I agree. That being said, I don't think the Bible, I think the Bible is intentional with everything that's in it. So the guidelines in and of itself for dating are intentional. So then
Exactly.
saying casual dating, does that,
Is that a misrepresentation? Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
I
Like,
don't.
should that even be in a vocabulary as Christians, casual dating? If, like, we
Let's
are
start
made
there.
to
Yeah.
have, like,
Let's start there.
intended.
'Cause I
Okay,
don't-
how would
Yeah.
you define dating? So I spent some time thinking about this, and here's the definition I came up with. You ready? It's I didn't Google this or anything. This is just something I came up with, which is getting to know someone for the purposes of a future relationship. So it's intentional. You're intentionally getting to know somebody with wanting to be in a relationship with them later. That definition
What
does
type
say
of relationship though?
romantic relationship.
Romantic relationship.
But
No,
what
yeah,
that
okay.
does say is that, you know, if you are dating somebody that is not in a relationship, and it does imply that you can get to know multiple people from that definition.
But it doesn't mean, it doesn't make it casual if it's multiple people.
I think it doesn't make it casual because it's purposeful. It's for the purpose of
Yeah,
getting
so
to know
it's
someone.
not casual dating. You're
So it's
just,
not-
you still have
I'm
that
just defining
intention.
dating as just dating by itself.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
something casual. It means like it's not really defined or like there's no like set in stone like rules that you have to follow or expectations. Like if it's something casual, like in casual, like if you're dressing casually, right? You're just kind of dressing, something
Basic.
nice, but like nothing like you're not going to church. So you don't have to dress in a suit and tie, right? It's not
It's like
expected.
a white t-shirt and jeans
Yeah,
type of thing.
there's really no rules. So I feel like, if there's no rules, then there's really no expectations. There's really no letdown if something doesn't work out. I feel like that's kind of what casual dating is all about. Like you're kind of exclusive with someone, but you're really not. And if it
No, I
doesn't work
disagree.
out,
I don't think it's kind of exclusive. There's no such thing as kind of, because that's exactly what situationships are.
well, exactly,
Kind
It's
of
like-
exclusive.
a casual relationship is just like another word for situationship. Like you're just kind of like there with the person, but I don't know. Like
I think casual dating is playing a relationship, but without the encompassing responsibilities and exclusivity.
that's what I mean.
So you're jumping the getting to know you part, or correction, you're blending the getting to know you part and being in the relationship part at the same time,
Exactly.
which is
so,
jumping steps.
Exactly.
So then if we're talking about casual dating being not wanting responsibility and shying away from all that, like as Christians, like that is not what we stand for, We have responsibilities, like we don't shy away from that. So then we shouldn't casually date.
Well, I think casual dating also protects you from the like if you've made it like known to the person that hey, this is what this kind of relationship is. It's nothing like serious, but we'll go out, we'll go home together, we'll do all these things. But if you decide like, oh, there's a guy that I'm actually more interested in, you don't really seem like a bad person because you abandoned ship. Because it was already like casual. It's just like, we're doing this. And you don't get seen as like a hoe
So
if you want to sleep with someone else, right?
so then it's a placeholder?
Yes.
That person is a placeholder.
Yeah,
Again,
pretty much.
it's you don't have the exclusivity there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
That
the
can be
appeal.
very dangerous.
It is very dangerous.
But
But,
there
I can see the
definitely is an
to it.
appeal.
Yeah.
So then, like, something that I always hear from my friends, it's like, well, you have to, like, date around a little bit to know what you want and what you don't like. And that's usually how they sell casual dating of, like, you're trying this and like a buffet, right? And then you figure out what's your favorite food and all this stuff. And that's where I always have a conundrum of, like, how, like, can you know what you want without having to try different stuff?
I think so. But honestly, if we're honest, like I think the main draw for casual dating is the sex that's in it. And a lot of people like blur the two lines together because honestly, like if there was no expectation for like the physical side of it, like a lot of people wouldn't do it. I feel it would just be like,
I disagree. I think there are a lot of benefits to casual dating that aren't sex. There's
I
plenty.
think a lot of it is
Like
based on that.
companionship is a benefit.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, then why not just go to the relationship? Like, why?
Again,
Because you don't want that added responsibility.
You don't know if you really want this person to be in a relationship. So the casual dating part is just like testing you out, but testing you out with higher stakes because you're going in jumping in all the way in versus going in feet first type situation.
I feel like,
and then jumping like that.
I feel like for someone who's maybe more genuine, that would be the case. But I feel like, I mean, I don't want to say a lot of people aren't genuine, but I just feel like, you can do like the companionship. Like, I feel like if you're looking for companionship, you would want to like go into the relationship, but because we already said there's like no exclusivity, right? So then like, why would you be worried about companionship? That's what I'm trying to say. So I feel like the only other piece of the puzzle is that you get to sleep with this person without any like
remorse.
Without any remorse, without any
loose ends.
Yeah, or something like that.
Any ties.
Yeah. It's what they think is not any ties.
Okay, but let's kind of backtrack a little bit, because we've been talking about just how casual dating isn't really a Christian concept. Can we talk about what the concept of, or what the purpose of Christian dating is then? Because again, if we define dating as getting to know someone for the purpose of a future relationship, the purpose is specifically to get to know someone beyond the frame of friendship. So if we're getting to know someone beyond the frame of friendship, that does imply, I guess, a little bit of exclusivity, though not. I mean,
well, like you said earlier, because dating, you're trying to get to know that person, to see if they're compatible with you, to see if you can trust this person with your heart, right? Because, like, honestly, because there's like a difference between there's obviously a difference between friendship and dating, right? But they're kind of like, they're kind of related to each other in a way, like you want to be friends with someone you're going to date, right? But like, me and you are friends, but we don't have to like talk all the time, right? We don't have to share secrets all the time. I mean, we do those things, but like, I'm not expecting to have emotional support from you all the time. I just expect you to like be there, for me in times of need, but like, I'm not relying on that from you. I don't know. Does that make sense? Kind of in a way.
Kinda. Doc, how would you say that dating is different from friendships?
I think the difference is the romantic aspect of it. Like with a friend, like for example, like I would say, Michael, like that's a really nice shirt, right? That's a friendly comment, right? But then like, let's say if I'm getting to know you in a romantic way, I'd be like, you look really sexy in that shirt. Like that's totally different language. You get what I'm saying? So I think it's if you have already that romantic intent, your language changes and the way you interact with the person changes. Because like, even if you're not sleeping together, like that romantic aspect is not just intimacy in bed, right? It's just in everything. So I think that's the main difference.
Okay. What about you, Michael? What do you think is the difference between dating and friendships, between a man and a woman?
It's interesting because I was trying to like figure that out, because like, I'm from the mindset like, I want to be friends first with someone before I like date them. But obviously like, you build on that, but then something changes. Like, what is that thing that changes? Like, yeah, there's the physical intimacy, obviously, but like there's more to it than that. But there's like, an emotional intimacy where, you're kind of like relying on this person for like more of an emotional support. So you can like, you have to kind of, I guess, choose your words more carefully.
That's true.
Be more intentional what you say, have structured statements, stuff like that, I guess. But there's also like a chemical like change. And I think this is what like brings those butterflies, like oxytocin, like
dopamine,
serotonin, like all these things are like released when you're around someone that you love. And it actually helps build that like attachment to you. Like, I'm not going to get that when I'm with you, Josue. Sorry. Like, you don't want to hurt your feelings, but oxytocin is not going to be released. But when I'm with a girl that I like, that's going to happen naturally. And that, I think God designed us to do that. And so those bonds are built and reinforced. And I think which also is why like a breakup is so hard, you know. So it's just like
Yeah.
on a chemical level, you know, on an emotional level,
I mean,
and
they
obviously
say
the
like
physical
what
level.
your pupils dilate when you see
Mhm.
something you really like.
Mhm.
Stuff
Your
like
heart
that.
rate increases, blood pressure goes up, like you have a sense of euphoria. Like these are like drugs that make you feel like more positive or like give you a positive feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What about you? What do you think differentiates it, Josh?
What do I think is a differentiator? It's again, it's what you do with the information and how you interpret it. So that's why. So like going back to the Abby example, if I see a girl and I say, like, Matilda, you look gorgeous today. I love the way you know, like that dress accents your eyes. That's excellent. I would do that to somebody I'm not interested in, but to somebody I am interested in, if I do say something like that, it would have more weight to me to say something like that. So I guess the difference would be that there is something to lose now.
So maybe change the way you say. Maybe the tone changes. The way you look at them while you're saying it changes.
Yes. So like you start putting more weight into how this person perceives me, more than just the friendship that we have. So like you would also share more about who you are with somebody who you want to date than a friend. Is that true? Or am I overthinking it?
From the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. Because
I think so.
that element of vulnerability, like there's just things you wouldn't share unless you were like really close with someone or
Mm-hmm.
you relied on them maybe more. So
That's true. And also, when you're dating someone, I feel like you try to learn certain things about them in reference to you, not in reference to just them. So, for example, if they're a night owl, that's something that's in reference to me. Because like, okay, well, how would that affect us if we were in a relationship? Okay, well, I'm also a night owl, so that actually like works in my benefit. Now, if Matilda were to be an early bird, that does not work well in my favor because now I'm again interpreting things in reference to me, because the whole point of us getting to know each other even more is to see if we would be good in a future relationship.
but then at like in the beginning I'd be like, yeah, sure, it's not a good thing for you, but it's like, how can I make this work, right? Because you like
Right.
this girl a lot. So it's like
Right.
in your brain you're already working, how am I going to make this work? Like, so it's just learning that. I
Yeah.
think it's important.
But I mean, I hadn't really thought of it like that. But when you really get to know somebody, but then you tie that in reference to you, it really changes things to make sure that, okay, well, what I do is going to change that person's perspective on me. Whereas a friend, you don't really care as much, or at least you shouldn't care as much. I don't know.
In the book I told you guys I was reading, How to Not Die Alone,
Yes.
so she talks about how, maybe this jumping the gun or whatever, but she talks about how when like you're taking, like, let's say you're dating someone and you're taking them to meet your friends or whatever, she suggests going on like a group date or whatever. And she's like, most of us, we have the instinct of like, oh, asking our friends like, what did you think about all this and that, but rather she's like, she suggests more of like, how do I act when I am around them? Like, what do they bring out in me? So I think it just changes the focus of like, it's not just what the other person brings, but what they bring out in you. And if it's like not good, then obviously probably the relationship is not going to be good. But if they bring out the positive in you, you know, connecting from your strengths, then that's a good sign that that person you're getting to know is like, you know, good to go ahead with it. So I just thought about that, where it's
yeah, I feel like, you know, relationships, when you're dating someone, that should be what you're looking for, not to see how like just attractive this person is, like not to see if they're super fun. I mean, that's something, right? But You know, you want to have that person that you can build something with, that makes you a better person, that brings out the best in you. Like, I feel like that's what you should be looking for in dating. And I think that's also a biblical approach to dating. So,
I mentioned earlier that casual dating or just dating in general has benefits that aren't just sexual. So, for example, when you date, you get to be around, in our case, Mike, feminine energy that we don't get anywhere else, other than either being with our sisters, or mom, or female coworkers, or something like that. Dating puts you in a position where you can enjoy the female companionship, and that's something that shouldn't be overlooked. So the question is, if we as Christians don't or shouldn't, date casually as a concept, how can we also get the benefit of that feminine energy if I'm a guy, or that masculine energy if if you're a girl? What do you think, Doc?
That's a great question. I haven't thought about that in that way.
I think the answer is that we just need many more friends with the opposite gender.
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, like, I think too much, especially as we get older, it's hard to not do this, but we kind of just view the opposite sex as just someone only to, either date or to, go to sleep with. Like, when we should view each other as like actual, like, companions, people to learn from, people to, cherish, not just in the view of, I'm only going to talk to this person or this girl if I have a relationship with, or if I want to have a relationship with them, or I'm not going to entertain this guy if, he's not trying to, have a relationship with me, or if he's talking to me, like, he must want to be in a relationship with me. We need to view each other as like just human beings first and foremost. I think our dating culture has like changed that around, where it's like, I like second guess approaching girls because I feel like if I do, they're going to view me as like some guy that's just trying to get at them, when, I'm just trying to talk, like.
And the problem there is that, like I mentioned earlier, intentions aren't set out clear. So then what happens is, in a lot of times, where girls are like, oh, okay, this is just a guy friend who wants to just be a friend. But then guys do the switch up. Hey,
Well, yeah.
the can we talk conversation. And it's like, okay, here we go.
Because a lot of guys do that, and so it's just like, I
think
get
that's
it
a
from the
mistake.
girl's perspective. Like, a lot of guys, they have Kim as friends, but they always want something else. Oh, they're just trying to get at you, right? So like, I get that, and it's kind of hard for guys that, who actually genuinely just want to be around feminine energy, have friends, maybe they're already in another relationship, but they just want to talk to, girls, get that different perspective, and they can't because the culture is just so toxic.
I think that goes back to the fact that if you really just want this woman as a friend, start from the jump with that energy. And if you actually do want to get to know this girl, start with that energy too, so that it's clear what your intentions are. Women are not going to appreciate you coming at them with with the facade of a friendship, because that's just lying if you really just want to get with them.
Well, yeah.
So I feel like a lot of times when that happens is that we only befriend the pretty girls or the girls that we want to get with.
Exactly.
We don't befriend the girls that are ugly to us, for lack of a better term.
Exactly.
Less
And
attractive.
do it less attractive. And in doing so, we muddy the waters with a quasi deception.
Yeah, and I mean, if you even think about it in other aspects, right? Like, you wouldn't want someone to become friends with you for what you have to offer, right? You consider that a lie. So
It's true.
then why do we do that in relationships? Like, you can't do that. And I think the way you approach it, like, let's say you did want to become friends and you want to be genuine friends with her, but along the way things changed. I think you have to find a way and pray about it to do it, like, so to make sure that she doesn't receive it, or at least try your best, right? Because you can't control how people will receive the message, but if you like make it clear that like, hey, like you're my friend, like, but along the way, you know, feelings started to develop, I think people are more understanding.
I agree. And if you're honest and open about it, I think while it is scary, I think it will be better in the long run, because in doing so, you have to like it's hard because you have to put yourself in a position of saying, okay, can I be friends with this woman now that I have feelings for her where I didn't before? Whereas if the feelings are unrequited, then being around her may not be ideal, may not feel good for me, may not like may be torturous, where I'm pining for Matilda, where I'm pining for this girl, and then the feelings are not reciprocated. If you can't handle that, you have to be able to step away and to sacrifice, because otherwise you're going to just torture yourself. And also you have to give her the option to say no. Like, and I realize that sometimes may come in the form of like losing a friendship, but that is like sometimes a casualty that has to happen when
Yeah.
things do change. Or and again, the friendship doesn't have to be lost immediately, or I should say for forever, but it does mean that for some time
It will change.
it will change.
I think a lot of that also has to do with chivalry being dead. You
Good
can't treat a
point.
girl with respect unless you want something. You can't treat a girl nicely, open doors unless it's like, oh, you want something, So it's just like, you gotta leave them alone.
Yeah.
You gotta slam the door in their face. Nope.
No.
You open your own door, take out your own trash.
I think sadly that's like the world we live in, where
know.
like so people's thinking of is distorted. But I also believe that we as Christians, even more than anyone, I think we should stand on our own personal standards of like what it is that I want to be known for, what it is that I'm gonna do. Like for example, for men, like if your standard is to be chivalrous and you open the door for all the girls, no matter how they take it, because that's just who you are.
Right.
So I can't think of an example for us as women right now, but
Oh boy.
I guess what I'm trying to say is we can't change how we act based on how the world is changing or how it's dimming and darkening people's intentions. At the end of the day, we have to like stand with what we value and what our standards should be and act based off of that and not what the other person is interpreting. And then I think that just makes it easier.
It makes it easy for you, but at the same time, it make it harder as well.
How
In
can
what
it
way?
make it harder?
Well, because I'm just saying, like, because you said, like, stand on principles, right?
Right.
Yeah, like
Christian
your personal
principles.
standards.
The world doesn't
Yeah,
agree with that, and so
but that's
once you,
the world.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. The world will persecute you for it in like ways that you may not see right away, but eventually everybody's gonna think like things about you that aren't true because you're living on biblical principles. That's just what
Yeah.
happens.
And I think that's
And
just
so
part
that's
of
why I
being a
think-
man.
That's why I think, in essence, yeah, like in your heart, in your place, in your mind, it'll be easier. But the world, because you're taking that stand for Christ, with biblical principles, it's gonna eventually.
It's gonna
harder.
it's gonna be hard, but if you're coming from a place of like this is what I am, like in Christ,
Exactly.
like
for
he's
you,
gonna help you
yeah,
endure through it all.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
I think another thing that is appealing about casual dating that is alluring to the idea is that when you're dating someone, again, not exclusive, but you're getting validation from them. So you're not only getting, again, we talked about getting like just the opposite energy, but you're also getting validation. I don't know about you, but when I get complimented or when I get validation for my work or for what I'm doing, that feels excellent. I love those words of affirmation or what have you, or that appreciation. So if I do go out with someone and she's like, I love that you're doing that. That's excellent. I get a
Or the
dopamine
fact
hit
that
from that.
the fact that she's even going out with you.
That's not that appealing to me.
That validates. I mean, like she
But, I mean,
did
it is-
reject you.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
I guess like we
That's a
were
win.
like we were talking about this earlier, how I've been really rejected maybe like one time. we were talking about this earlier, Doc, and how rejection is not, this is going to sound really dumb, I'm sorry, but how rejection is not really something that I've encountered a lot of with women.
People are gonna be like, cap.
Okay, I mean that's probably true. My question is though, how many times have you actually put yourself out there though?
That's the same thing I
that
asked.
would be the other question.
That's true. I don't really put myself in positions to get rejected. So
But that's
so in
good.
other
That's
words,
a skill too.
well, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put energy towards something that I know isn't going to give any fruit. So if I know that a girl is cute, but her energy is off, or she's just not the kind of girl who would enjoy my company, I'm just not going to, like, what is the point of me doing that?
Exactly.
So going back to the point of seeking validation, I think that is something that all of us need, in that people who casually date get, but a lot of people don't. So like Mike, for example, if you went out with a girl and she started complimenting you and just completely loves things about your life, that would be appealing to you, wouldn't it?
Of course. But see, here's the thing though. Should that be like the basis of my validation in life?
It shouldn't.
No.
But it should be a part. There's no
Yeah,
way.
I
mean,
it should,
yeah,
we should
because
only
we need
validate
each
but
other.
it shouldn't be the
ourselves.
basis though. Like if you're seeking validation from human beings, then like you missed the plot. And I think that's where a lot of people suffer from. Constantly seeking validation from the opposite sex through dating, through having sex, through whatever it is. They always want that validation. And eventually they get tired of it and they realize this is not working. There needs to be something else.
I
So
would call it, I don't know if I would call it validation. Maybe validation is a part of it, but I think it's like more connection and being heard.
yeah.
And I think you guys as men experience that from women more, because like your type of
Validation?
friend, yeah, like for example, like Josh was talking about, like a girl like telling him like, oh, that's really cool, like, you know, he loves hearing that, right? But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, male friendships, y'all don't talk like that. Like,
Exactly.
y'all don't give each other that
We
validation.
don't. Unless we're at
Whereas
the
if
gym.
you ask me as a woman, like, that's not priority, because like all my friends do that. They hype me up.
I
They're
know,
like,
your friend just sent you a Valentine's Day card. Today's
yeah, she's
Valentine's
in
Day,
the
by the way.
package.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yeah, they were even in my mind to do that for anyone.
Exactly.
Like,
So it's like
my mom sent me Happy Valentine's Day today. I wasn't even going to think to do that.
Yeah, so we were actually, her and I were talking about, as girls, sometimes we like, the criteria for friendships is higher than the criteria for a man.
What do you mean? Explain
Like-
a little bit more.
Like the criteria for a friendship, like, you know, like,
It's harder to become friends with them than it is to become their boyfriend.
yeah, so like, what she was saying is that a lot of girls, like, you know, they have a lot of things they require from like their girlfriends, right? Their friends.
Give me an
Where-
example of this.
Where it's like, it's communication, commitment, like that
Validation.
emotional support, validation. These are all things that women, you know, as friends give each other. And it's like, if you're not giving, or if it's not mutual, the odds of us becoming friends, or like good friends, is very low, right? Whereas our criteria as women for men is and tends to be lower than all of that.
Oh, I agree. Well, that's a good point.
And
See that?
it was just funny talking about that,
sad.
because that's what I told her. I'm like, this is so sad,
that is so
because
sad.
like the same criteria of like that mutual commitment that we expect from our girlfriends, like we gotta expect that from a man. And sadly, like history and maybe past experiences with other men have distorted that, and the fact that there are less men, and just kind of makes us acquiesce or just
Settle.
So, but it's just kind of like, no, like we need to change that, like not requiring as much or even more from men in the sense of like a commitment than our actual girlfriends.
I think one area in which men do give more validation than women do to men is in the gym and in areas that require physical exertion.
Yeah.
So or I'm sorry, not just physical exertion, but also competition. For example, no one will tell a guy he looks better than another guy when they're jacked, when they've gone to the gym, when they've put in the work. Nobody will be
that's
more
true.
expressive about that than another guy. When they've killed it at work or in a sport, it's just dudes out there making fan pages for these guys because they just appreciate them. You don't see female fan pages of, or correction, you didn't see female fan pages of Travis Kelce until another girl gave him validation too. So Travis Kelce was already famous and was already goated for his own, in his own right.
Of
But it was
course.
praised by men, not by women to do that. So
I mean,
there
by
are
some
areas.
women, I like Travis Kelce before.
Well, that's because you have brothers who are into
Yeah,
football.
but
So it's different.
I would say the thing that women would get, or the appeal that they would receive from casual dating from a man, I think it would be the sense of like safety. I always say that, but like,
It's real.
but also like gifts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Paying for dinner.
yeah, like there's this stuff on Instagram where like this chick didn't buy groceries for like a year. She would go like on a date.
That is exploitative. That is
Yeah,
wrong.
that was wrong. So like I think
Oh God, help
women
us, Lord.
more than emotional support get in like material stuff.
Yes.
What does the man get out of it for
You
buying all
get
the
the
groceries?
emotional support.
Assuming that it's there, because a lot of women use that as a bargaining tool to be like, okay, well, if you didn't provide for me or you didn't do what I said, then you won't get the support. And you have to, chase after that, which I think is baloney. I think that's completely BS.
I mean,
I
that's what the whole tit for tat thing
Right.
exists. That's why I love Matthew Hussey's thing of like, invest then test, right? Where it's like it's not both of us are putting in effort and then you're seeing if the other person puts a little bit.
I heard a
that way.
quote from a guy, I think it was a comedian. He was like, the reason guys buy nice cars is not because they like nice cars, really, per se.
It's because what the other
It's
guys
because
are kind of
girls
say.
like nice cars. That's
I
what he
mean,
said.
guys too.
I know they
Guys
do,
like
but
nice
they
cars.
know girls like guys' cars. He said if a guy could attract a girl with a cardboard box, he would do it.
Listen, there are dudes out there who do.
There
There
are
are dudes out there who are players living in basements and who make the women
Yes.
pay for dinners
Exactly.
and just provide for them. But they have that good D, you know what I'm saying?
and not or not just the
Pause.
D,
No,
like
smash.
they actually care about the woman
That's
or
true.
take some time. Like I mean, in the movie,
But I was just the point I was making is just like a lot of guys do what they do
For women,
For
attention-
women.
for female attention.
exactly
Yes.
for
Yes.
yes.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, what movie were we gonna say?
Like in the movie Think Like a Man, one of the guys, he's like dead broke, right? And she is like super rich, like super duper rich. And then she finds out that he's broke and then he leaves her. And then she ends up going on a date with a rich guy, nice cars, everything. And she's at dinner. And this really rich guy, he's talking about work and he's talking about
His
all his
accomplishments.
accomplishments and stuff,
Making it about
and not
himself.
not connecting with her. And then she's like, she just cuts him off, and she's like, "I had a great day." And then like that was like, I think if I remember this movie correctly, that was like her epiphany moment. Like, I need to go back to my man. Like
Wow.
that guy, he was broke. But like, he was emotionally invested in her. And
It's real.
so yeah. And apart from that, like Michael Ealy was hot in that movie, but
I don't know. who
he
that
was
is.
broke in this movie.
I think another reason why people casually date that we should get elsewhere, but that people do casually, is just for sake of entertainment. It is fun to go out and do stuff with women. It just is.
Your dude.
It's fun, or dudes. If you're a guy, if you're a gal, it's just a lot of fun. Because I mean, you have somebody to go check out a new movie with, or check out this new place for dinner, or go check out this new escape room or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun to spend time with women.
It's crazy because
period.
when I'm at work, like, like yesterday, I was at work, 15-hour shift, and my partner was a chick that I never met before. She had a boyfriend, I found out later, which was cool. I mean, I wasn't like, into her like that or anything, but like my flirty, like goofy, like energy came out because I was just like, I don't know, I just like picking on her, like teasing her about stuff. And I just met her that day. But it was just like, I just got a nice enjoyment out of it. Like, I can't explain it. Like, I do that with like my other friends, like who are guys to a degree too. A lot of times we just talk about like sports or,
You flirt
just
with
other
your
stuff.
other guy friends?
What?
No, he's
said-
trying to say he only talks about sports.
Yeah.
I misunderstood that.
Pause, man. Where's your mouth head at? But like, when I'm with a girl, then it just like switches. I'm like, oh man, I try to make them laugh. I tease them about stuff, and I have like a generally good time. Unless she's like, vibing with that. And if she's like not saying anything, then I'll be like, okay. But most of the time it's not. Most of the time she's
I
cool.
feel like there are times where in lieu of friends, people look to dates as a form of entertaining themselves. So if people don't have friends, why not just get a dating app, get on it, find somebody who you're compatible with, in theory, who you like, and then go do stuff. Now you don't have that. Now you don't have that void. Which
Michael,
is
didn't you
the
say in
next
one of the
point.
episodes that you have a friend that he goes on dates because like he doesn't have any friends?
You mentioned
Yeah,
that.
well, he said he doesn't, make a lot of friends. He's not a real outgoing person. That's why he likes to not date, but likes to have a girlfriend. Like, he's intentional. He's Christian. Like, he wants to be in a relationship because he
I
knows.
see.
Okay.
He's not like, you don't say he's like socially awkward, but he kind of is. But I mean, he's one of my best friends. But like, that's why he tries to, get a girlfriend. So he was like, there was a point where he was like in and out of a relationship for a little bit, but now now he's good. He's married now. So
Nice. And I feel like, again, that entertainment piece and not having friends goes to the other point, which is people casually date to fill a hole.
Yeah. That's what all of this comes down to. You're wanting to fill a hole without any responsibility.
No risk.
No risk.
or
In theory, no
to
risk.
validate
theory,
yourself.
right? Yeah, so it's would you call it selfish then?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Yes, it is.
Because if you're not in it for sake of the other person, then
yeah,
it's
if
selfish.
you're just about yourself.
If it is just about you, then yeah.
What
I mean,
I
in essence,
need,
you're giving something to them, but it's mainly because
There is a selfish component.
yeah.
like I need feminine energy. I need companionship. I
Right.
need someone to do with. This is I.
Yeah.
Right.
So then it's
So it can get
But I mean, like,
selfish.
What I mean, we kind of discussed like the difference between like casual dating and just like being in a friendship. Like what's like that main thing that, because if we're saying it's a casual like dating thing instead of a friendship, then it starts to tend to, other stuff, which then in effect makes it kind of selfish. It's about, what you're getting out of it, really.
I mean, couldn't we,
Like,
to simplify, couldn't we just say that casual dating is friends with benefits? What is the? I mean,
see, that
apart
goes back
from-
to what I was saying earlier.
but not just the sexual benefits.
that's
Because
a very- you gotta find a different term.
we mentioned the benefits of having feminine energy, of being validated, of being entertained. It fills that hole for a while, and maybe that somebody is the one for you, right? So there are other benefits.
But can't you do that without saying it's like a relationship? Like
That's
not a
exactly what
relationship,
casual dating is.
Like without saying it's casual dating. That's what I meant.
Well, that's what we're trying to say.
would just call it a
That's what we've
friendship.
been like.
That's what I'm
counter-
saying. That's just a friendship at that point.
Well, that's what we've been trying to say. That
Like, we're not.
I mean,
don't
the
know.
whole thing we've been doing is putting something that's casual dating and then putting it in a Christian frame.
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess in a Christian, it would be friends with benefits in a Christian world, but in a non-Christian world, there's no benefit. The benefit that everybody else wants, but Christians, is sleeping with someone.
Yeah.
So if you don't got that part, it's just friends.
Yeah.
In theory, yeah.
It's just
But intentional friends, I guess.
intentional friends.
That sounds weird. But
It's a
a-
kind of a fine line. Like there's a lot of minutia with that. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
My
mean-
mom told me like that it was okay to do it though. I mean, I don't want to put her on blast, but like my mom, she never, she's a good girl, growing up, but she did date a lot. She had a lot of boyfriends, and I would hear her teasing my dad about it sometimes, like, "Oh, are you jealous?" Or because she would talk about like to me about her
Her ex-
dating life.
yeah.
When I come to her about like girls and stuff, she would tell me about like stuff, and she's like, "That's fine," And I think there are maybe aspects of it that is okay. If you're just like going to hang out, going out to eat, you can call up, whomever it is, like, hey, let's go out. And, it's just kind of like,
That's alluring.
yeah.
That's nice.
There doesn't have to be sex involved, right?
Yeah.
If it's in a Christian, if you guys know, like, that's, what your values are.
Yeah.
But it is a slippery slope.
Yeah, it
I
is.
mean, it
I
can
think
be
it is.
if you don't make your intentions.
Yeah.
And if you don't make a game plan.
Because my aunt, she said she casually dated guys that she was attracted to, like,
Yeah.
if I'm attracted to the girl, like, it's just a natural
Mm-hmm.
progression of things.
Hmm.
Especially if we're not being intentional, like, or like, we're not seeking an actual committed relationship.
Yeah. And I think also, I don't know if we've kind of touched on this, an appeal of casual dating is being able to hide your fear of a relationship. Where like you want a relationship, but like it's just casual, so you have nothing to lose. So then you kind of depersonalize yourself and you do stuff that you really want, but at the same time it's like it's casual. So
Yeah.
so that's a negative.
Yeah.
And a positive.
I mean,
Yeah.
when you,
Yeah,
like,
But I feel like
it's a
it's more-
quasi positive.
I feel like it's more negative 'cause
it's a ghost positive.
It affects you on a personal
well,
level.
That's
a
true.
lot.
remember, we talked about those chemical releases that happen, like the feeling of positivity that you get when, you're with somebody like that intimately. Like people begin to crave that, and then when you don't have it, like, well, it's like a coping thing, if you've had like, come from a rough relationship or, it's just nothing seems to be working out in life. If you have that working for you, that's what you'll go to. And then, when you start, doing things, and those, the oxytocin, the testosterone, the estrogen, all that stuff starts to release, you get hooked on that.
And I
Right.
think
And so like,
people can get hooked on being in a relationship.
yeah, because the feeling to be like the feeling of love and passion is intoxicating, right?
For a good reason.
For good reasons. Like the original design is for good reasons, but like when you're just doing it like without any like limitations, without any like intentionality, like it becomes a drug, and abused a drug, and that's what a lot of people who come from that background where they're like in and out of this casual dating or in the casual dating culture. Don't be surprised to find out that a lot of them have anxiety issues. A lot of them suffer with depression. Like I hear it all the time. Like I was talking to a friend of mine who was trying to get with a girl who was like that, and I was like describing the girl before he even told me about her, and he was like, "Yep, she has anxiety. Yep, she has depression. Yep, she's in and out. She's
Wow.
always going to dates. She's always
I was
doing other
with
stuff."
somebody.
I
Yeah.
think that's
No,
what Satan wants us. Like casual dating, no responsibility. And then he allures, no responsibility. You can just have fun. But it's like there's this emptiness that I think responsibility kind of,
And that commitment gives, that being outside of that commitment, you don't get.
yeah.
Or you do get, but in a like a watered down way. That you don't really get all the benefits.
Yeah.
It's like saying the same thing that pizza is healthy for you, where technically you are getting grains, you are getting dairy, you are getting, your
Fiber.
vegetables in the form of sauce, but it's not quite the same thing.
No, not even a lot. A bit,
No, exactly.
Domino, nah.
One thing I do want to stress is that I specifically talk about leaving the romance out of like this dating phase for like a very specific reason. And this is something I read in Ellen White, and it's in Letters to Young Lovers, page 74.1, if you're ever interested. But I've never forgotten this. And she says, "To trifle with hearts is a crime of no small magnitude in the sight of a holy God." And yet, some will show preference for young ladies and call out their affections, and then go their way and forget all about the words that they have spoken in their effect. A new face attracts them, and they repeat the same words, devote to another the same attentions. So, with that in mind, you need to give the attentions, and you need to give the words that you can repeat to someone who you're not interested into. Does that make sense? Because if you show preference, and then you're texting them a lot, you're giving them a lot of attention, you're giving them a lot of compliments, and then you just pull away, and then you do the same thing with girl B or Matilda. That's wrong, and because again, it's giving somebody hope that something will happen when in fact that's not the case. It's absolutely wrong.
Yeah. I just to continue off of that, because it's a really good point. 2 Timothy 2 verses 22. Well, first of all, Proverbs 4:23 tells us to protect our hearts, right? With diligence. And then 2 Timothy 2 verse 22, it says, flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace, and with them, and it says, flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. So if you're wanting to, get into that relationship, the first thing you need to do is to flee those youthful lusts, right? Wanting that, I guess, like vindication from someone, wanting something from them and not expecting to give anything to them. And then once you do that and allow God to come in, then you can love someone or approach someone out of a pure heart, out of righteousness, out of like faithfulness and things like that, because we talked about how casual dating is fun, right?
Yes.
But I feel like at the end of the day, like everybody wants to have fun in their relationship. But most importantly, I want peace in my relationship, right? And that's what the verse talks about, like peace, come with peace. And I think a lot of people in their relationships, they don't have peace. They're not at peace with it because they're scared. First of all, they probably don't even really genuinely love their partner, and so there's just a lot of like anxiety and resentment because you approached it the wrong way,
right? And Abby, going back to the trifling with hearts really fast, and messing with other people and giving them attention and pulling back. What would you say is the way men do that? Give a lot of attention and then pull back? Is that because I have a way in which women do it too? But I'm curious to hear what you.
Well, everybody does it.
Yeah,
I haven't done it, but
I think
actually,
let's not go there.
I haven't done it intentionally.
But continue.
No,
let's not go there.
I think.
Oh God.
I think personally, from my perspective, I see it as like you could easily trifle with hearts when you give a girl lots of attention. Because we all know guys don't give lots of attention to anybody, not even their friends. So like getting that lot of attention, that special treatment
signals something
that like, you like me or you want, so that there's that. And then like compliments, like the way you talk to them, like even the way men look at you or like they check you out, that says something too. Like women receive that. So like even touch too.
Yes.
So I think all those ways, you have to be careful with all of those things. Because girls have a soft hearts.
Girls are more emotional.
Yeah. And I think women are more perceptive. So
yes.
Just that way, that's how I would feel. Like if a guy was giving me all that, it's like, yeah, okay. But then it's like if he doesn't want anything, it's like, yikes. But at the same time, there's the personal responsibility for each and every person, like the girl or the guy, like, because there's always going to be people that trifle with hearts or like, that are always, there's always people that flirt. There's always people, there's all of that. So it's more of like staying realistic, not castle building.
Right.
Of like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all this attention, I'm getting all this, we're gonna start a relationship, blah blah blah. But rather, it's more like staying grounded. Of like, yeah, I'm getting all this attention and all this stuff, but it's like, is it amounting to anything? Kind of like that type of thing. So there's that personal responsibility too.
I
Even
agree.
if the other person is messing with you.
I think one way in which women can trifle with men's hearts is leading them on. So if men tend to offer things and then women tend to like accept it, and then they tend to abuse the niceness or abuse the what do you call it? The so what I'm looking for here, start with a C.
Conscious.
No, the abuse the care, abuse the it has an O and a U in it.
Courteous.
Yes, the courtesy. I feel like some women can start to abuse the courtesy, and then women, or so that might lead some men to think, oh, okay, like I'm offering these gifts like a little bird offers a pebble, like a penguin offers a pebble to a female penguin, and then if she, keeps accepting them, okay, it's like, okay, we're together now. Whereas some women might just see that, oh, he's being nice, but not see the implications of that. And again, there's a responsibility of the guy not being intentional and not being clear about what he wants and what's going on here. Like, this is not just me giving you things because I'm being nice to you, but I'm being nice to you. I'm giving you this pebble because I want
like
to build a
you.
home with you, So,
Yeah, that's a good point. I think another way that I once heard a guy say that women actually run the world. Because like men will do almost, it's some of the toughest men, biggest men. You even see it in the movies, like the Hulk. Like the one way, like the way they got to Hulk for him to calm down was through Black Widow, right? Biggest thing in like the Marvel universe. It's a woman
That's
that
a
calms him
trope.
down. But that's the thing, like women, the way God designed them, like they just they can do that. Like we can't help but want to help them. And I think a lot of women, they know that and use that to their advantage. I watched
That's
Game of
true.
Thrones. I'm not saying you should have, but who was the chick in the evil chick? I
Khaleesi?
forget. Not
Sansa.
Khaleesi. She was the queen, right? Or not the queen, but she was the
the
whatever. But she was saying like, hey, you're a woman. Like use what
Cersei.
you have. Cersei, yeah. She's like, you're a woman. Like learn to use what you have,
yes,
right? And I know what she meant, and I think we all know what she meant. But because she was like the most beautiful like woman in the land, like kings, people, men of power would always come after her to try to get her, and she was always like maintaining her like power because of her beauty.
right.
And men wanted to be with her, men wanted to protect her, and I think a lot of women use that.
How I think of it is men run the world, but women run men. So
Ooh, I like that.
we're each
Well, I mean, they
have
say
our
that
own
the
thing.
man is the head and the woman is the neck.
right.
Dang,
That's true.
that's funny.
But
need
to kind of
your
wrap
neck
that
to
part
move.
up, I feel like, again, dating has to be friendly and it has to end on a happy note. Getting to know someone so that you can end, you can leave that first or second date knowing that if you're going to continue seeing this person, it's not going to be awkward, and you can either proceed moving forward or you can continue on the same path that you are now and
think-
call it a day.
I think people though by default will get hurt though sometimes, but not in a bad
Not
way.
if you're honest.
No, even if you're honest.
I think you can't
If
avoid someone getting hurt.
If a girl likes you and you don't like her, that'll hurt. It'll hurt.
It'll
Like, when
hurt a
rejection
little bit.
hurts.
It'll sting. It'll sting.
And so sometimes the friendship does, and that's one of the risks about like getting into that relationship, especially if you have a good friendship. You don't want to lose that friendship. And so some people, we hear it all the time, like, oh man, I really don't want to ruin this friendship I have with you, or they'll think about that. Like, what if it doesn't work? Right. And, sometimes you have to sacrifice that. It's all a risk.
Everything.
It's all a risk, but there are ways to go about it where you don't leave the person like feeling dejected, yeah, or like just depressed, or feeling like they've been misled, or
Sure.
had their feelings like torn, because man,
And if it hurts, that's just part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And to be honest, men have more to lose than women because men are the ones who put themselves out there.
yeah, that's true.
So, in the majority of cases.
Yeah.
So, I think that's fine.
Women lose too.
In what ways?
In what ways?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the way of like society perceiving them. Because like let's say men put, but like there's still that perception that women that go like on a lot of dates or whatever son una cualquiera or whatever. So
What does that
like
mean?
Just a
Like,
whore. Well,
yeah.
no, just a rando. It's just
Like,
like
oh, look
anybody.
at her going on a whole bunch of dates with other people. Like,
Yeah.
she has no
She's
self-respect.
easy. Easy is the word.
Yeah. So then I think women
A lot of girls like
lose
that. A
when
lot of
it
people
comes
like that.
to reputation. And that affects your self-esteem. And whereas men lose monetarily.
And reputation wise. Because women, for
But
bad
yet
dates,
that
they ridicule
reputation is
them.
not
and
as perceived as negatively as women's.
if it's a bad date, it is.
Whereas, for example, like a guy, like, oh yeah, he's a player, and like you say that with a smile.
No, the bad date.
So it's still like, it's
Still a win.
But that
Yeah,
that
so-
men bad date thing is real though. Your friend told
I mean,
me
bad dates
that
are
there
real.
is a literal Facebook page
yeah,
where or Facebook group page where girls will talk about guys that they've had like bad dates on or guys that they should avoid. It's on Facebook, and she goes on there. She'll type in a name, and girls will pop up like, "Yeah, I know this guy. Yeah, he's stay away from him. Like he's a super love bomb. He'll do all this, and then he'll like pull away." I'm like,
Could
seriously?
you imagine if
But,
that,
like, those
if
are
that
bad.
existed, like oppositely? Sorry, you were going to say?
but those are bad. Like the guys usually do bad stuff.
I know, but it's just
Like,
crazy that exists.
They've gone on like they
They're
love
serial
bombing,
daters.
serial daters. Like this
Yeah.
is all bad stuff. So it's like women looking out for each other.
A lot of girls do that too, but like, I mean, maybe there's a page where guys do that. I don't know.
To be honest,
would
But
require
that's crazy
effort.
that it exists to me.
if it ever came out that there was a page like that, women would be so outraged. How dare you talk about us in that way? You're objectifying women. You're talking about women behind their back, and like you're just talking down women again, down with the patriarchy. So that same energy doesn't apply if the roles were reversed. Women would feel terrible that there's guys out there talking about their exploits and being like, "How dare you?"
Okay, well let's be real. In this new group
Yeah.
that's coming out, what would you talk about a bad experience with a girl?
She's easy, or she gives good head, or
Yeah, so like it's all physical stuff.
or not necessarily, or
like girls
or
usually
she'll
talk
still-
about the character.
well, not necessarily. Like you can be like, she just wants to go on a date and she'll never hit you back. Like she's just in it for a free meal, or she'll sleep like she slept with my homeboy. Oh yeah, same here. So there's a
Eskimo
lot
bros.
of things like
Okay,
that.
so I
Yikes.
feel like, I mean, if you want to make a group, start it.
My point is, I don't think these groups are good per se,
I mean, I think
or maybe they're just good
I think
and
they're not
bad. I don't
the
know.
best, especially like I think in a Christian circle, I don't think they don't have a place,
I agree.
especially if you're not casually dating.
Yes.
But if you were terrible on a date, you were pretty bad.
If you're terrible on a date, you're pretty bad.
Like if you like behaved pretty badly,
Mm-hmm.
like that's gonna be spoken about.
Yeah.
So that is the thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially within girls. Like we talk about all of that. And
Like,
more.
I'm like, how do you know? How many dates you been on? How many dates you comparing me to? Like,
Yeah. So, in summary, one of the differences between casual dating and Christian dating is the fact that in Christian dating, you don't bring in the romantic aspect. Like, you don't jump with that. Because, again, that's trifling with hearts. Now, you can get to that point. We talked about how casual dating as a concept has many allures, right? But we have like a
they're
substitutes.
superficial allures, though. Like,
Right.
They don't have no
We have the
substance.
real. We think we have the real thing in Christianity, and
we do.
in the way that we date.
Yes.
Correct. we talked about how we need to be careful, open and upfront with our intentions. Can't give hope when you're not sure you can follow through. And you got to be friendly and make sure that you end on a good note. So with that said, let's transition to what happens when you go on a date and then you actually like this person. We're gonna have an entirely new episode on like what the game plan is, so that if you like somebody and they like you back, you don't just just kind of stay in a limbo of like, well, I don't know how much interest I should put in or something like that.
Like what's too much?
What's too much? We need to like have a conversation about that, but that's an entirely new episode. But I do feel that when you go on the second date, and let's say I meet Matilda, and I had a good time with Stephanie, had a good time with Caroline, but we didn't feel like there was something there. I'm still friends with them, but it was with Matilda that I feel like I want more than just that. I need to then communicate to Matilda, hey, I feel like there was a connection and I'm beginning to have feelings. I'd like to pursue this further. Do you feel the same way? That simple.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't take much more than that to, again,
You would do that on the second date?
or when I feel like I know her enough to where I know that there is correction. I feel like I would do that when I know that there is enough investment from my part so that she can invest into something that's real.
Would you do that? Like, would you do that only if you feel for sure that she's interested, like just by the chemistry, the vibe she's giving you, like the communication, or is that just
that's a good question.
Is that just like a leap of faith you're taking? Like, hopefully, because that's how I am in my
theory,
head. Like,
you
I have to know
would.
the girl has to like pretty much like me without her saying
In theory, you would want to know for certainty, but it's not always like that.
Yeah.
So you sometimes will have to take a leap of faith.
Well, because you
that's
did
fine.
say earlier,
Because
like
some women may be shy and like, well, they don't know if they, should be the ones to, give off the signals that I'm interested in you for sure. And I was talking to about this, how women have the luxury of not having to showcase verbally that they like you. But if they do like you first, you should declare that through nonverbal cues so that the guy can pick up the hints. And if the guy is too dim to pick up the hints, that's a key in and of itself.
I think,
but again, that's just for women who don't want to verbally say, hey, I've enjoyed our time together. Let's see if we can take this to the next step.
I think we live in a world where it could go either or. Yes, for the most part, it's usually like mostly expected from the guy. Be like, I like you, let's go forward. But in the world that we live in now, women do that too. Maybe not to the same extent as men, considering it's still more vulnerable from a woman to do that, considering all the negative connotations, like she's easy.
Yes.
So yeah, because like more women are doing that and more women are putting themselves out there.
What makes you say that more women are doing that?
Because I hear stories
Okay.
of like people that are like of women that are doing that. And then so it's like that intentionality of like you as a person, like it goes back to your personal standard. Like for me, for example, like I went on a date with this guy and like it went well. And I'm like, oh, like for the next date, like we should do this. And like that's that was like he got the hint.
Right.
I communicated my interest, like let's do this again.
Right.
So like it's all comes, so like it's not fair to say that men just do it. Like women don't. Women do, like,
but at a much lower scale.
In a much lower scale, and maybe in this more subtle ways. I guess what I was saying was the whole thing that like that women do it now too, just in subtle ways.
Yes, that's true.
So we can't negate that it's all just dudes.
Yeah. And then I feel at that point, when you do feel like there's a connection with someone, you cannot then therefore escalate any other friends that, you know, you can't escalate the friendship to anything else with anyone else. Because now you're trifling with hearts. Now you're messing with people's minds. Now you're asking her to invest into something that is fractured into, you know, two separate people, which is not actually there. So when Michael, you were saying like, do I tell her when I know for a fact or when?
Yeah. Do you know, like, because you said you said you approach it. You said you approach, or you don't set up yourself to be rejected. That's what you said. So I'm
No. I'm not saying I don't set myself up to be rejected.
Yeah.
I mean, I set up myself. I mean, okay, correction. There are times where I don't set myself up to be rejected. So if we go on this first date and I realize that there's nothing there,
you're not gonna ask her out. Yeah.
Nope.
If you're texting her,
right, and
she's giving you one-word responses,
like Abby was saying, you test and invest. So if I invest again and then she bites again, for lack of a better term, then you can, you know, continue going from there. Yeah. And then if you get to a point where you're like, you know, I think I'm feeling like I think I'm growing feelings for you. Like the more I get to know you, I'm actually a fan. Is this something you would want to pursue officially? Exclusively. Now, if she was, you know, just in it for the free meals, for the experiences, for having a good time, then I lose out because I get hurt during that process. But it was through her deception. You can't protect yourself against that.
No.
So you have to have the faith that somebody is dating with you with what do you call it? With what's the word I'm looking for?
How can you say that's deception though? Because if you haven't put it out there yet, but she's still being receptive to you, she's being nice. I mean, so maybe
fair. So maybe it's not deception, but she would have to be honest about
the fact that she is not interested.
Correct.
Well, how does she do that? If she just thinks you're a nice guy,
well,
she just
again,
if you're asking her out,
you're having a conversation. So she says that by opening her mouth and saying she's not interested.
No, I know. I'm saying, but before that, because you said you're progressing it. You know, we're talking about like she's texting you, you're getting good conversation, like
right.
At that point, it becomes deception. Why?
But
would you not want her to talk? Some girls they don't mind talking.
They don't mind talking.
I don't get it.
If you're texting a girl and you know she's reciprocating, you know, in a good way, like giving you a lot of responses, asking you questions, like so and so is going to be. But what if it turns out she's actually already got a boyfriend, and you know she's just being nice because she knows me? Is that really deceptive?
I mean, if she already has a boyfriend, she needs to be clear about that.
I like when girls.
Back to the intention of the texting.
I like when girls bring it up like on the side, like, "Oh yeah, I'm hanging out with my boyfriend" or something like that. And then I'll know. I'll be like, okay. I like it when girls do that. Like honestly, because I've had it the other way where I was clearly giving signals to this one chick. She wasn't Adventist, but she was really pretty. She was smart. We always sat next to each other in school. We'd study after school. I had her number. We'd talk. We'd texted. I would walk her home, y'all. Pretty much right up to like the street she lived on. This went on for like 3-4 months. And she never mentioned that she had a boyfriend. I had to find out. I was like, I almost wanted to.
In 3 or 4 months, if you haven't made your intentions clear, that's off.
I know. I probably should have. But I mean, like, you know, it was clear that I liked her. I did make it eventually, but she didn't respond. But she had a boyfriend. And one of the reasons why I didn't respond sooner is because we stalk on Facebook and Instagram. So I saw that, okay.
It's just research. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know,
research.
people like, but, you know, cause she didn't tell me, you know, I just looked at it myself, but like, you know, I saw that she was in a relationship or said that, but I was just like, she never mentioned him. Like every girl that I talked to, they always, you know, not every girl. I'm not talking every girl that has a boyfriend, but like, you know, usually when I talk to a girl, 99% of the time they mention the boyfriend on the side. Like they're going to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I live with him, you know, whatever. She never mentioned that guy. So it made me think like, is this for real? Maybe it's an old Facebook page.
Was it like a legit boyfriend, not casual?
Yes, it is. It is. I see him on Snapchat now, but like.
To get kind of to answer
you never
your question,
know. That's my point.
There is a point where you have to just take a leap of faith, and where you do put yourself. You have to put yourself in an effort to be rejected.
But you can protect yourself. You know, even with the pain, you can still protect yourself, right?
In what way?
From feeling the full brunt of from not letting yourself go on like an emotional tirade
Well,
and going
I mean, I
down
think-
into
I think
a depressive
it
state.
shouldn't be that hard, because if you give her enough respect to be like, I'm not interested in you, and give her the autonomy to do that,
Oh, of course.
then it's okay.
But I'm saying, like, how do you protect yourself from not feeling making that
I
make you
think
feel like you're unworthy,
Yeah.
not
Well,
lowering
again,
your confidence?
if well then that just goes to show that, like, are you searching for worthiness? Are you searching for confidence in this woman?
I mean,
Because if you're looking for those things and then you don't get them, then you're like, oh crap.
Is it natural for that to happen?
but I get
that's
what
not a bad
Michael
thing.
is saying of, like, you know, when something happens, usually as humans, we tend to question ourselves and our value, even
Mhm.
if we're not looking for
That's
that, because
true.
that's just a really natural thing. I think there's not a foolproof way to protect yourself.
Yeah, I said try to
Um,
protect,
But
not like
one way we
yeah.
can try to protect ourselves is by staying in the moment of, like, the situation, because a lot of the times we get hurt by all the stories that we make up in our heads and all the projecting that we do to the future.
Yeah,
So the way that we protect ourselves is by not doing that, because the more you project, the more you think of, oh, what's going to happen next. When it doesn't happen,
hmm
you're hurt a lot more
Mhm.
than it's like, we just went on one date.
right.
Yeah.
But, like, in your mind, you were already in marriage.
Yeah.
So
My
Right.
mom told me, she was like, you know, when I told her about, like, you know, whatever girl, she was like, well, you know, just say she wasn't your girl. She wasn't your girl, so it doesn't matter.
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed.
Yeah.
But it still sucks. But I mean, yeah,
It
like
still
that's
sucks.
a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to still acknowledge, like, that it hurt,
The loss.
because
yeah.
you can't just, like,
Yeah,
dismiss it.
accept it. Yeah, it can't be like
Mhm.
waiting. Like,
And
oh,
we'll
maybe
actually
she'll
have an
change her mind.
entirely
Yeah,
whole episode
yeah,
on
getting-
rejection
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how to, like, how to deal with rejection and how to, I think, ethically reject someone.
ethically. I like that word.
Reject.
We gotta
Is that the
put
wrong
them down
phrase?
ethically. No, it's the right word. It's just it's funny because we use that when we're like, you know, going to put it down the dog or something.
Well, I mean,
Sure.
you get ethically
Go
rejected
hunting.
from, like, jobs and schools, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
so
That's true.
why not this?
So if you get to that point in a friendship or in a relationship, I mean, I would still call it a relationship.
Everything is a relationship, but there's levels to it.
To where I want to move forward with Matilda forward more. At that point, I have to disregard any future forward movement of friendship, any progression of friendship with Stephanie and with Caroline and with any other suitors.
So would that be like
That's just it.
can't be going out as like, you know, on a friend level, but like one-on-one anymore? It just muddies the water too much, or
I don't think you can you need to get there, but I will say you have to communicate that. I have to communicate that with Matilda.
To all your friends.
Yes.
Mhm.
To where, hey, listen, we're gonna go out now, but just know that
But see, some people are secretive about their, you know, love life. Like they don't want people to know until it's like for sure
That's
gonna happen.
true. I mean, that's why they have hard launches and stuff.
Yeah, like we
That's
saw
true.
some today. Like it's Valentine's Day. We saw.
I saw one. I was like, okay.
yeah, hard launches.
So,
Funny. I like that concept.
I
actually.
thought the
I'm
hardest
a
launch I
fan.
ever saw was a girl. I didn't even know she was dating, and then boom, she's married. I'm like, what? Like there was nothing on Instagram, on Facebook. There was no like nothing. She was just single to me, and then boom, she's like gone on her honeymoon. I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
And she was a cute girl. I tried to.
see,
I
like,
could have got at her.
I get the whole concept of hard launch, but at the same time, I feel like I have a thing with it because, like, we're grown ass people. Like,
Mhm.
I don't need to hide anything. Like,
But some people
sure,
do.
like, it's early on in the relationship, but, like, the logic I hear for a lot of, like,
Mhm.
people hiding their relationships, it's like, also, like, that other people take it seriously. It's like very other centered,
Wow. Yeah.
and I'm like,
Like other people. what do you mean?
yeah, like other people.
It's about what other people would think.
or like,
or
or like that I don't get questions and all this stuff, and I'm just like,
Or it's just a casual thing.
yeah, like,
But you're not relaying that to the person.
I don't know. I just feel like I don't have to, like, this is it now. Like, I can just, if I went on a date with someone and I want to post him, I'm gonna post him. Like,
Mm.
these are the rules that I'm talking about, like these not
Unwritten
mentioned
rules.
stuff that it's just like there's no need. Like for me, like it just seems so ridiculous. Like, so what if the person doesn't think it's serious just because we've been going out for a month? It's my life, and if I want to post it, and if I don't want to post, that's cool too.
But you do know what's gonna happen when you post it.
The people are gonna ask.
Rumors
They're
are
gonna
gonna
jump to
fly. People are
conclusions.
gonna jump to conclusions. Everybody like,
like,
oh my god, and it's,
That's part of life.
Right.
I know, but do you want that if it's not an actual relationship yet? That's
I
the
mean,
thing.
No,
people
no, no,
can
no.
ask.
So for guys, I think it's different, and maybe not for girls, or maybe the distinction isn't even necessary. But what I was gonna say was, if I go out with a girl, like I'm gonna do on Sunday, I won't post that I went out with a girl, per se, because I know that people, for me, specifically speaking for me, they will assume that I'm dating this girl.
If
They-
you like
they
post
don't
her
know
like
that-
at you're both eating together, you just post a picture of her, like
Yeah,
that's-
they will
that's-
just jump
yeah.
to that conclusion.
I would jump to
Now-
that conclusion. I'd be
Now, Abby's right in the sense that who cares? Like, you guys are adults. She's just a friend. She's just a friend.
like, but it just brings,
But a lot
it
of
brings
people
a lot.
won't get that, and it might affect my dating, I guess, or
Mhm.
pool. If like, well, didn't I just see you out with this girl? She was just my friend, but now I have to explain that to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now, if I wanted to go out with Matilda,
I could
it's like-
see.
I literally just saw you with another girl the other day. It's like, hold on, pause. Like, I've known her for years. Like, you don't know the context.
I mean,
my
So,
sister.
Yeah.
so nuances like that. Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, especially with like Abby and I. Yeah,
so like I guess how I can see how like that being affecting like both men and female in the sense of like people assuming, and then but I also think that also it depends the stage, because
yes,
like it's more of like what is natural in the moment.
Mm.
Like
that's true.
usually like when you go out to eat, you don't post a picture of yourself with someone. You like post a picture
of the
of like the
food.
food.
Mhm.
That's it, right? So it's more like what's just natural, what feels right, and then
Mhm.
you go with that. And I mean, if we took a picture at a really nice place, cool. Like, hey, look where
Yeah.
I'm at, and it might push away it's gonna push away the wrong people, because like if they can't,
Hey,
if
that's
people
true.
that are living by assumptions rather than what I say, then you're not for me anyway, because I don't want to be with someone that
That's
lives on
fair.
assumptions.
That's fair.
So then, adios, goodbye.
That's
like-
fair.
So But it's-
Adios.
yeah, that's my take. So I mean, I like, yeah, sure, hard launch officially. Like, to me, that's like a post, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that
a
lives on
post.
your feed.
Like that will leave on my feed. That's a hard launch. But like, if it's my stories, it's my
Mhm.
story. Like,
Mhm.
you don't know that, yeah. But
It's true.
Mm.
How do you think we can bring God into the early stages of dating, into getting to know someone who we potentially would want a relationship with, Mike?
So I kind of mentioned it earlier. I think there's two like ways you can do it, and they're like, to me, they're kind of like steps. I earlier had mentioned 2 Timothy 2 verse 22, and I'll just state it again. There it talks about fleeing youthful lusts, but following righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. And so like, removing, first of all, like, when you're trying to get into, I guess, that dating, like space with whoever it is, like removing that idea out of your mind that, oh, like this is something that, I can get more physically intimate with someone, right? Removing like the lust factor out of it, and then allowing, God and the righteousness and the faith that God will put into your heart to come out. And so that you can like truly, love someone out of a pure heart and out of a lustful heart. And I think that will like set like great groundwork for, dating, getting to know someone. You'll ask the right questions. You'll know who the right person is. And then second of all, when you look at Adam and Eve, in Genesis 2, chapter 2, verse 18, I think that's where the first time God says, like, it's not good for man to be alone, right? And then in verse 19, you see God bringing all the animals to Adam, and he names them. And then God is like, let me make let's make him a helpmeet, right? And so like, you know, when you think about like why God made Eve for Adam, it wasn't so, you know, he could necessarily, you know, not be alone, right? It wasn't so he could necessarily like repopulate the earth, which is what God wanted them to do, but it was to help Adam complete the work that God called him to do. And so for me, that tells me like I need a date with the intention of finding someone who will help me complete the work God has called me to do. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
And so like, to me, those are two like principles of how you can, two biblical principles of how you can bring God into like dating, fleeing from youthful lust, letting God, you know, transform you into a righteous, faithful person, and, you know, finding someone that can help you complete the work that God has called you to do.
What do you think, Doc?
I think I say this a lot, but prayer. We can't underestimate prayer and talking to God, because it's like through prayer and talking to him that we receive discernment. You know, he talks to us through the Bible, through prayer, and it's being intentional in that prayer of like bringing your plans to God and being like, hey, like this is what I want. Like we've talked about, like, you know, that intentional getting to know each other and like those little nuances that we're talking about that like we don't even know what's right or what's wrong. It's like, show me like how to do it. Like I was listening to this sermon today and it was talking about Jairo. How do you say that? Jairus. And how he came to Jesus and he's like, hey, Jesus, my daughter's sick. Like, come with me, make her feel better, and she'll be fine. And then it says Jesus just followed him. Like, Jesus didn't say, okay, let's do this. Like, and then on the way there, like, you see the woman of the issue of the blood. And, you know, she stops the whole procession to Jairus' house, or however you say his name. And he was talking about specifically how a lot of the times we come to God with our plans. And, like, if you don't do it the way that we envision it, then, like, it can't happen. Because then what happens in the story, that people come and tell him, hey, like, your daughter's dead now. Like, what is Jesus gonna do?
And specifically, it says, trouble the master no further.
Exactly. So, like, we do that too. It's like, if God, like, if he doesn't stamp of approval our plans, it's like, okay, God, I'm not going to trouble you anymore. And it's more of like that prayer of like, of God, like, show me how to like being intentional with getting to know like the opposite sex, friends before dating, like, show me what to do, like, come like work with me in this game plan. Like, this is what I got going on in my mind. Like, what do you think about it?
Right.
Like, you know, just having that back and forth, like, even though to us it may sound like we're talking to ourselves. But I just think God wants that from us. Like, he wants us to like pray and seek him. And I think he can lead us through all those little minutiae and nuances of all this.
I think that's true. So in line with what you're saying, it's also important to spend time with God. And not just in prayer, but in reading his word and stories about the Bible and things like that. Because a lot of times we can answer our own questions, because the more that we are closer to Christ, the more we start to think like him. And the more that we start to think like him, we'll start making decisions that he himself would make. And we can feel more confident in our decision making the closer that we are to Christ. So if you spend a lot more time with him in his word, or like Abby said, in prayer, or like Michael was mentioning, you know, taking the right steps, we can really make sure that when we're getting to know someone, we can approach it with the right mentality, and we don't trifle with hearts, and that we can take the steps as they're supposed to be taken, one at a time. And, you know, God will take it from there. So,
yeah.
Amen.
Mike, would you mind leading us out in prayer?
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about, just relationships again, and this aspect of dating that hasn't really been discussed, especially, amongst us. And, I feel like, just out there in the Christian world, help us to, you know, continue to date with intentionality, the Lord, and to, allow you to come into our hearts and our minds to, love someone, or, approach someone with a pure heart, with pure intentions, not, selfish intentions, not, seeking our own pleasure, the Lord, but help us to seek your glory, to seek your pleasure, and to, find people and to talk to someone and get to know someone who, ultimately will help us, in our relationship with you, but also help us in, our calling that you have called us to, the Lord. So just continue to be with each and every one of us, be with our listeners. Thank you for everyone who's been on this journey with us, and continue to be with us this week as we go to LUC. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.